Hi guys, Andy from Estella's Revenge, and I'm here today with my TBR Pile challenge books. So I've mentioned in previous videos that I like to create quarterly reading goals for myself rather than monthly because it gives me more flexibility. And since I'm making a concerted effort to chip away at my TBR, I wanted to join Roof Beam Readers' TBR Pile Challenge for 2014. And in this challenge, you pick 12 books from your TBR that you've had for more than a year that you really want to try to get through. And in addition to the 12 books that you choose, you can also choose 2 alternates in case you DNF, do not finish any of the books. So, I've chosen a nice hefty stack. And I have to say it makes me feel really good that because I've been doing these quarterly challenge reads for myself and creating these TBRs, I am actively working through my TBR stacks much quicker than I ever have. And so it was pretty easy for me to choose these books, but it is getting consistently harder for me to look at my shelves and think, wow, I've had these books for like 10 years. So that is a very good thing that I have really begun to chip away at some of these books that I've owned and wanted to read for a really long time. So this is my TBR 2014 challenge pile. The first book is Love Begins in Winter by Simon Von Buie. I've read all of Von Buie's books. I love them. He is a beautiful short story writer, but he's also written 2 novels. And this is the last collection of short stories that I have unread. I've kind of had it stashed away for when I know I need a really good book to bust a slump, but I think it's time to go ahead and tackle this one. I also chose Geisha, A Life by Minako Iwasaki, and I'm really fascinated with Japanese culture, as you may have noticed from some of my other TBRs and hauls and stuff. And I've had this nonfiction book on my stacks for definitely more than a year, probably more like 5 years. And I thought it would be nice to have some nonfiction on this stack because nonfiction really does help my reading keep going smoothly when I'm kind of tired of fiction or in a fiction slump. So this should work out well in 2014. I also chose The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. I really enjoyed her first book, The Interpreter of Maladies, and I haven't read any of her other stuff, which is really unfortunate. I always mean to, but sometimes I just don't get around to it. And so one of my favorite bloggers from Write Meg popped up and said this was one of her all-time favorite books, and so it immediately got put on the TBR for 2014. I also have a very dusty copy of Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. I did not enjoy Eugenides' first book, The Virgin Suicides, and so that kind of put me off of his work just a little bit. I really do want to read The Marriage Plot as well, but since this is considered his masterpiece so far, I really want to try to read Middlesex first. And I've had this one on the stacks for probably 4 years or so. I also have What is the What by Dave Eggers, and this is a book about one of the lost boys from the Sudan and his life kind of trying to assimilate to American culture. I started reading it. I really enjoyed what I did read, and I see my bookmark was on page 17, but at the time I just couldn't get into it, so I want to try to read that one in 2014. I also chose The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Kim Edwards, and this is a story set in 1964. A doctor is forced to deliver his own twins. Daughter has Down syndrome, and it kind of goes through their experiences. And I see this at every library sale. I see this book at every half-price bookstore. So it worries me a little bit that I see it secondhand so often. But I've had some very trusted booktubers tell me that they enjoyed it, and bloggers as well. So I am looking forward to trying that. I also have Other Voices, Other Rooms by Truman Capote. I read In Cold Blood a few years ago and really just loved that book. So I thought I would pick up some of his kind of Southern Gothic fiction, and that's what this is. I don't really know what to expect because I've never even read Breakfast at Tiffany. I've seen the movie, but I haven't read the book or the story. So looking forward to trying it. We'll see how it goes. I also have Wise Children by Angela Carter. I absolutely loved The Bloody Chamber when I read it several years ago. And this was a gift from Heather at Capricious Reader, I believe. And so I've put it off for far too long. I also have The Brooklyn Follies by Paul Auster. I've mentioned in previous videos that I've read quite a few of Auster's other books. They often have a very metafictional postmodern feel to them, but this seems like it's going to be more of a straightforward story about the residents of Brooklyn. Paul Auster is a New Yorker. He lives there with his wife, and so I'm really looking forward to this book especially as well. And I think, I want to say the story that that the film Smoke is based on has a role in this book. I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart, so I probably shouldn't have mentioned it. But yeah, definitely looking forward to The Brooklyn Follies. We also have Venetia Kelly's Traveling Show by Frank Delaney. I had this book for quite a while. I received it from the publisher. I don't love hardbacks, so it's kind of languished, and it's embarrassing how long I've read it, or I've had it and not read it. But it's a gorgeous book. I've never read Frank Delaney. He's written Ireland and some other pretty well-known books. So I, of course, am looking forward to this one as well. And the last of the original 12, The Contract with God trilogy by Will Eisner. This is one of those seminal works of comics and graphic novels that is talked about, studied, praised all over the place. So it is considered one of the most important books in comics and graphic novel studies. So I'm really looking forward to reading it. I've had it since graduate school, but have just never gotten around to it. And then my 2 alternate books. I just chose my 2 alternates. I thought that in the case that I can't get into one of these books, I should have some young adult or middle grade fiction on the list. So we have The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. I've read the rest of the His Dark Materials series, but never got around to the final one, which is very sad. I've heard some mixed reviews, but I want to know for myself how it turns out. And then a advanced reader copy that I've had for years of Terry Pratchett's Nation. And I got this book long before I got into the Discworld series. That only happened this year. And so I know I will probably really, really love this book. It will probably be a very quick read, and it should be a good standby on the stack. So, those are my 12 books for the 2014 TBR Pile Challenge, as well as my 2 alternates. Are you currently planning what you are going to read in 2014? And make sure you tell me about it if you are. So, I hope y'all are having a great day. Bye.